Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on employment opportunities in Canada beyond the big cities. My name is Sharvari Joyce, and I manage the Canada Infinite Pre-Arrival Program. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. Before we get started, a few webinar housekeeping tips for you. This webinar is being recorded. The length is approximately 1 hour. All participant lines will be muted. The Q&A session is at the end of the webinar. Please do type your questions in the questions window, and we'll try and respond to as many as we can during the Q&A session. You will receive a recording of this through your employment specialist, or anyone who's registered for this will be receiving a copy of this. We will also be posting a copy of this on the blog. Please take time to complete our post-webinar survey. This is how we get to know if this information was useful to you. If there's other topics we can help you with, please do complete that. And last but not the least, we are all working from home. I'm sure most of you are, but so if there are any technical difficulties in between, please do bear with us. Just a quick overview of the Canada Infinite program. Most of you are already participants of this program, but I would like to cover a few points. The Canada Infinite program is a free national 8-week program delivered by JVS Toronto with other industry partners. We've served over 5,000 English and French-speaking immigrating professionals since 2016. Our dedicated employment specialists support professionals arriving in the next 12 months with employment services such as employment preparation and job search tools, connection to a mentor in Canada, which is a very unique aspect about our program, where we make online pre-arrival connections to a mentor who's already in Canada. Resume and cover letter support, Canadian workplace culture and expectations for success at work, employer webinars like this one. We bring in all kinds of experts to give you more information. Online job matching platform where you can have access to job postings, and we also do virtual fairs on an ongoing basis. We also help you get ready for some soft skills in Canada, like customer service and business writing. And with that, I want to introduce our wonderful presenters for this webinar. First presenter is Robert Collins. Robert is the Director of Workforce Development at the London Economic Development Corporation. He is a former international student who has varied experience in the private, non-profit, and government sectors in Canada. Robert is thrilled to share the many benefits of Canada's dynamic mid-sized cities, where people can more easily connect to opportunities and join a welcoming community. Welcome, Robert.
Good morning, Sharvari.
Good morning. The next presenter is Brianna. Brianna Fraser is the talent team lead of Invest Ottawa's award-winning talent program. The Invest Ottawa talent program aims to help growing Ottawa firms to attract, develop, and retain the top tech and business talent required to thrive, compete, and succeed in the global market. Brianna has over 4 years of recruitment experience and is now managing a team to support this program. Welcome, Brianna.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you both for joining us today. Next slide, please. Thank you. To get us started, I just wanted to give a few highlights, a few important information to highlight. So in 2018, about 64% of new immigrants went to big cities like Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary. Of course, some of the major factors that are considered before people move to these cities are employment opportunities, immigrant communities that already exist in those cities, infrastructure, public transport, things like that. But another factor I want to bring to your attention, one of the biggest expenses to be considered would be housing, whether you're renting or looking at buying a house in the future. For example, an average 2-bedroom rent, a national average is about $1,764 in Canada. And in Toronto, it's over 2,600. And in Vancouver, it's 2,700. And it doesn't seem to be cooling down, right? Like even the pandemic is not cooling it down. So it's important to consider that many smaller cities in Canada have lower unemployment rates than the national average. They offer better quality of life and a tight-knit community, which should be important factors to consider. I've included a resource here. Maclean's always annually they publish a list of best communities for new immigrants to settle in Canada, and they consider several factors like housing, job opportunities, and others. So please do take a look at that. With that, I think the next slide is for Robert. Robert, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really pleased to join Brianna to really celebrate what our two great cities have to offer. Great places to live, to work, to play, and to learn. And so, as I say, the title here is Accelerate Your Career in London. And while I'm sharing some of London's great virtues, I also want to share a few job search tips that we've found. So if we could go to the next slide, please. The London Economic Development Corporation is a not-for-profit organization contracted by the City of London to both attract new business, which we've been very successful even during the COVID period. We've actually got 3 new companies moving from overseas to London. And then along with that is our marketing and communication, sharing our good messages, and then workforce development. And as Brianna mentioned, talent is a key ingredient for any community to thrive, to grow, and also to attract new enterprises to our community. And that's why newcomers are incredibly important. And I'm going to share a few facts about that in a few moments. Next slide, please. So London is the 11th largest city in Canada and the 2nd fastest growing. And in fact, we're predicted to be one of the leading growing companies next year. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a stall pattern in terms of immigration and settlement based on the COVID situation. What's really interesting is that we have 150 million consumers within a one-day drive of London, which makes us ideal for transporting of goods. We have about $1.2 billion worth of goods being transported from London. We have excellent connections to other major centers, but yet having a smaller community quality of life. So let me share the next slide, please. Let's look at our location. Here as you can see, we're between two of the Great Lakes. So we're one of the southernmost parts of Canada. We actually have about 13 US states which are further north of us. This is really a rather good challenge for all of you to actually look at where we are on the lines of latitude. We're at about 42.98, which is actually on a line with sort of Madrid in Spain and Florence in Italy. So please, to wherever you are in the world, just sort of look at that. When you look at those major US cities, there are some of our marketplaces from London. And you will see when I'm going through some of our 5 key growing sectors, some examples of companies which are doing business not only there, but around the world. Next slide, please. Just some quick facts here. We have, in our general census area of London, we have about 545,000 people, a very active labor force, and last year our unemployment rate was 5.5. Currently it's 9.3, but that is because obviously the hospitality sectors and retail have been hard hit by COVID at the moment. But when you actually look at that bar graph, which you can't see very clearly, but the message is that London actually across its sectors has a very balanced opportunities across multiple sectors. So that means, for instance, through the financial crisis, we were better able to maintain our workforce and to continue to have opportunities without such a significant downturn or impact as other communities. Moving on to the next slide, please. Just to give you that London is a very affordable place, and I'm going to show you the housing rates in a moment. As Shavari mentioned, our actual two-bedroom average rent is about $1,543. I'd round that up right now to $1,600. We'll see the housing prices in a moment. Our diverse population, we're about 22% of us are newcomers from around the world. By the way, where I work, 50% of us are newcomers. I'm originally from England. We've got somebody from Colombia, two from India, and somebody from the Philippines, etc. So that is very much the style now, is to have quite diverse workforces. To mention that in terms of London, we were the first city in Eastern Canada to have a mosque. We now have 3. We obviously have temple. Every group around the world is represented here. We have 140 different countries and cultures well represented. We have arts and culture. We have over 50 live music venues, active museum, lots of art galleries, and a very vibrant art scene. We have one of the lower childcare costs of about $1,100 per month per child, which is one of the lower rates in the country. And then when you look at our connectivity, both, as I mentioned, the highway systems that we have that's connecting us to major urban areas. We have very good internet activity quality within London. Just to share with you that the average commute time in London is about 22 minutes. That means from your home to your job, the average time is 22 minutes. So in London, not only do you get a living, you get a life. When I look at our affordability, I want to mention this website to you. It's called salaryexpert.com. The advantage of that site is you can go and look at what a particular wage is and what it will buy for you in terms of the cost of living in any community in Canada or North America. It's really helpful to then to look at the relative affordability, not just the direct wage. It's not, in other words, it's what will your wage buy for you in terms of your quality of life. Moving on to the next slide, please. London is a very strong learning community. We've got one of the Canada's top 15 research-intensive universities, Western University, 40,000 students. To mention, I'll just give an example. The Ivy Business School is world-renowned. We have the only women's university college, Brasher University College, as part of the Western School. But some of the interesting research activity that's happening there, we're the only city with 3 wind tunnels. So we're testing buildings from around the world. We have the only one that can replicate a hurricane, for instance, called the Windy Dome. So very powerful research clusters. We're testing an HIV vaccine at the moment. And so a very good interplay between our companies and our university. Fanshawe College is the 6th largest in Ontario. It has the highest graduation rate for people going directly into the fields of study of all of the community colleges in Ontario. And of course, then we have a rich elementary and high school system with four systems, which are then free for the user. And then we also have private schools, private college, private learning college as well, to get some short-term training to help people get into positions if they're not qualified for them upon arrival. Moving on, please. So London is the forest city, over 7 million trees, wonderful green spaces, close to 400 parks, just lots to do. Music, as I mentioned, over 55 music venues. We've got great sports teams with a major center downtown, Budweiser Gardens. But this is a little known fact. We have the oldest, and it's a very beautiful, longest standing baseball park in the world. So not just so the Americans love to come up and see this great baseball park. In terms of shopping, we have 4 suburban shopping malls and also a vibrant and quirky downtown with lots of major retailers, etc. So everything you would want to get. And then, of course, London is a city with a lot of major events. If you, unfortunately, COVID has restricted some of those, but we've got a major Sunfest event which draws people from Toronto to Detroit, etc., all coming because of the wonderful music, the flair, the cultures, the food that's celebrated for just that single event, let alone the others that we host. Moving on. As I mentioned, this is the relative house prices from 2019. I would add 20% to that because both London and Ottawa have been incredibly popular destinations. And despite COVID, it's been amazing, the real estate activity. People have wanted to move from the Greater Toronto area and Hamilton actually to London because of our relative affordability and our quality of life. Moving on. Next slide. Just to share with you, because most newcomers only look at the larger companies in terms of for employment. But I want to share with you that in Canada, over 90% of our companies are small or medium enterprises. So yes, it's lovely to see some of the big brands, and I'll be mentioning some of those in our communities. But really what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to give you some tools in a moment, is really dig into some of the small and medium companies which are growing, and they provide more opportunities for people to connect and to demonstrate the diverse skills that you bring to us. Next slide, please. This is something that, as you can see from me compared to Brianna, I'm aging rapidly, as are some of our Canadian cities. And London is one of them. So that's why welcoming newcomers is actually a priority for our city. We have a strategic plan adopted by our city council to encourage and to welcome even more newcomers over the next 3 to 5 years. And you can see that through this demographic shift, great opportunities are opening up so that the broad range of jobs, not just entry jobs, but into middle and senior roles are actively being recruited. And I'm going to mention some of the resources to find those in a minute. So let's move on now to some of the great sectors in London. All around London is some of the richest farmland in Canada. That means that we can source great raw materials to produce food products and then distribute them from around the world. So anywhere in Canada, if you were to have to have a Haagen-Dazs ice cream, even in Ottawa, it's coming from London, Ontario. If you were to go and have, and by the way, in COVID times, Dr. Otka's pizzas are incredibly well received from your frozen food section. By the way, from London, Ontario, we're supplying Australia with frozen pizzas. And just to share with you just a really sort of a cute one, that's their Bosco and Roxy's. They make dog treats, which are being delivered from every state in the United States, has dog treats being made in London, Ontario, and delivered there. As you can see, over 90 companies, 7,000 employed. Maple Leaf Foods is building right now its state-of-the-art plant. It's going to hire and be open in early 2022. 1,500 individuals to work in that plant and a full range of technical, health and safety, food processing roles, etc. On to the next one, please. We have been traditionally a home of advanced manufacturing. This is one of our largest sectors. And you can see just from the list there, we've been attracting companies from Germany, from Korea, from Austria, etc. We are the home of 3M Canada, so all of the plants across Canada and all of the different products sourced from around the world it's orchestrated from London. If you look at Trojan Technologies, probably in your home country, if you've been upgrading your water treatment facilities, they're using the ultraviolet light water treatment technologies being developed in London. What you see in front of you is actually a rowing shell using composites because Canada has, I mean, we have 3, by the way, companies making high quality sporting goods in the rowing and canoeing area. Those are probably being used by your country's Olympic teams to prepare and to succeed. So interesting combination of both manufacturing, the science of trying to lower weight, and to be able to make things move more rapidly through the water. And then that applies to things like diamond aircraft. So the whole area of composites is a great strength between the university and our companies. Moving on. Just like Ottawa, which has a very vibrant technology sector, so does London. And we're doing very interesting things from London, but serving the world. So as an example, if you were any company in North America that's looking to purchase software, any major company, their chief technology officer is likely going to Infotech to get independent advice about the quality of the technology being used. If you look at Race Roster, if you were, which has recently been acquired by ASICS, Race Roster makes the software to run any kind of race or walk, from collecting donations through to timing the event, etc. So lots going on there, a full range of technology, cybersecurity, etc. Moving on. Healthcare is also a great strength. If you were to look at, for instance, Trudell Medical, there you would find that we are making one of the world's best airway chambers, which have branches in the UK and around the world. So they're delivering just the right amount of medication based on your condition. And then we have KGK Science, which is one of 3 companies running clinical trials. They're coordinating those clinical trials around the world from London, Ontario. Yet again, another strength in our healthcare area. Moving on. Professional services. Yet again, a big strength, lots of finance roles. London has been traditionally the home of major insurance companies like Canada Life. We are one of Canada's major banks, TD. It is TD Canada Trust, which Canada Trust was generated from London. It has over 3,500 employees in London, helping in both the technology areas and new product development. A company like LBMX, if you were in the UK and you were going into a hardware store and you're going into an independent hardware store, they're likely using a purchasing software made in London. You see, we've just got one of the major accounting companies mentioned here, PwC, but we've got all of the big ones, E&Y and Deloitte, etc., are all well represented. And because of our location, they are providing services throughout southwestern Ontario from London. Moving on to the next one, please. Just to share with you, as I mentioned earlier, the pizzas that are being made here and distributed around the world, the airway chambers. We actually, if you like McDonald's and chicken McNuggets anywhere in Canada and in Ottawa, you will be able to get chicken McNuggets, but they're made in Canada's London. And when you see that image there of the gamer, we have a very nice gaming cluster, both games like My Singing Monsters, which come from London, but also many of you may be familiar with a game called Warframe. So that's headquartered here. The company's called Digital Extremes. So that company is that product is one of the most popular games played around the world. Moving on. just to share with you, here are some quick ways for you to really find out more and to connect with some employment opportunities. We run a website called London Tech Jobs. So if those are you from the technology sector, but remember they also want account representatives, finance, marketing, and communication folks, London manufacturing jobs. So these are easy job boards for you to actually see the congregation of opportunities there. If you also go on to our ledc.com site and go to the guide or to Why London, what you will find there is not only a business directory where you can look in each of those different sectors, what are the companies by size and location and their website, but the concierge is your overview of London. You can find everything from how to find a home, how to find the religious grouping or cultural grouping of your choice, etc. So these are really handy ways for you to actually navigate London. Moving on. And just here, by the way, just to mention again, the website I mentioned earlier, salaryexpert.com, to let you know that we are constantly hosting job fairs. We had one actually yesterday. We had 400 jobs available, and we had 1,100 job seekers on the platform for over a 4-hour period. So lots of really useful connections being made there. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I look forward to welcoming you to London and to your questions in a few minutes, and also hearing about the great city of Ottawa following me now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Robert. There was a lot of useful information. This is for the participants. There are the handouts from both the presenters. You can find them under the handout section. Please feel free to download them and use them as part of your research. Thank you so much, Robert. And Brianna, the floor is yours now.
Great. Very awesome presentation, Robert. It makes me want to visit London. I unfortunately haven't had the chance yet. But very much appreciate the opportunity to promote Ottawa and the fantastic city and opportunities it has here at this panel. To give you a little bit more insight into myself, I was born and raised here in Canada, but I've actually lived across 7 different cities across Canada, out west in Saskatchewan, in Manitoba, and all over Ontario. And I've also lived abroad in Spain and Greece. So when I say that I love Ottawa, I really, really do. I came here for university, partially because of the amazing offering that Ottawa had for students at the University of Ottawa in the bilingual program. And then I decided to stay here instead of going to Toronto or other large cities due to the wealth of opportunities it offered and for the overall life and culture and vibrancy that the city has to offer. So having lived in multiple different cities, I think I can definitely lend some experience in terms of, when I found a city that was as well-rounded as Ottawa, I definitely wanted to stay, and I'm very happy that I get to now promote Ottawa overall through my work and today through this presentation. So we are from Invest Ottawa, and if we can go to the next slide, I will show you a little bit more about what Invest Ottawa does and offers to the city. So we are a local not-for-profit here as well, and we are the leading economic development agency for the National Capital Region. So what do I mean when I say the National Capital Region? Well, Ottawa being the capital city of Canada, it's not Toronto, as most people may think, especially if you're a newcomer here, but Ottawa is the capital, and when we say National Capital Region, we're including the surrounding areas such as Gatineau. We are lucky to be right on the cusp of Quebec and Ontario, and many individuals live in either Ottawa or Gatineau and work in either side. So it really does feel like one cohesive area, and there's many benefits to being within the areas. Many people live in Gatineau due to lower taxes or housing or the easy commute. It's only 15 minutes from downtown Ottawa. So many people have asked, can I live in Gatineau and work in Ottawa? And the answer is absolutely. It's all part of the National Capital Region and includes a large tech focus as well. So here at Invest Ottawa, we offer 3 main pillars of services. We offer venture development, which helps facilitate the launch, scale up, and global commercial success of entrepreneurs and firms. specifically at the startup stage with our accelerator programs, and then we help companies scale with our scale-up programs. And then we also have our global expansion team, and it is quite rare to see both of those teams, venture development and global expansion, within one economic development agency. So we're very fortunate to have both, and the global expansion team supports market-led innovation in emerging tech areas and brokers new opportunities for Ottawa companies in the private and public sectors. So we promote the attraction, development, and retention of these companies. And for example, we just helped a large company, Gigamon, who is going to be starting an R&D office here in Ottawa. It was just announced previously last week, and it's huge news as they're bringing almost over 76 jobs to the Ottawa area in the next year. So we're very excited, and that's an example of a large company that we helped soft land here in Ottawa, and they're going to be looking to open up an office once feasible and once we're able to be in person and on site. And then where we come in is through our talent program. And so this talent program helps attract, develop, and retain top tech talent and entrepreneurship as a career of choice in the city. So as a main focus of helping companies develop within the Ottawa area, we developed a talent program to help coincide that, so that as these companies grew, we could help not only attract, but help further develop the talent in the area, partnering with our post-secondary institutions, local upskilling programs, and to help really put Ottawa on the map as a great place to live, work, learn, and play. So I think Ottawa's largest issue is the lack of awareness of how fantastic of a city it is and the opportunities. So that's why we're, through presentations like this and through other storytelling, we're really trying to put Ottawa on the map, even on a global scale, as a large tech hub with plenty of opportunities. We are helping existing Ottawa companies expand abroad and establish trade relationships as well. And we recruit foreign companies and individuals to invest and create job opportunities here in Ottawa. So that's a little bit more about what we do. And if we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about the tech hub of Ottawa. So some people have joked that we are the Silicon Valley of Canada, and I really like that. But for the last 3 decades, Ottawa has been a global leader in telecommunications technology. And today, Canada's capital is one of the hottest and most diverse tech hubs in North America. So we, as a population, have over 1.3 million individuals living in the National Capital Region. The National Capital Region total workforce is 773,000. And specifically in information, communications, and technology, or ICT, we have 77,000 workers in that industry. And we have almost 2,000 knowledge-based businesses in the National Capital Region who employ over 75,000 people. So knowledge-based is tech and other industries like engineering, and through those businesses, they employ 75,000 people. So that's not just tech professionals, but it could be marketing, HR, and all those other workers that help run companies. So even if you're not tech focused, you can definitely find lots of opportunities here within the tech sector. I myself was not a big tech person before getting into it, but there is plenty of opportunities no matter what your profession is. So for decades, we have been globally recognized as a center of excellence for knowledge-based industries, and we feature many assets that distinguish it from other cities in North America. So for knowledge-based industries, so this is typically firms involved in pharmaceuticals, health biotech, new materials, telecommunications, information technology, software, medical equipment, and avionics, which are all considered to be in the knowledge-based industries. And we also have a large clean tech sector, which consists of biorefinery products, recycling, recovery, and remediation, water and wastewater, energy infrastructure, smart grid, energy efficiency, and green building. Go to the next slide. Perfect. So we are really a capital of innovation. There is a lot of new exciting things happening in the city when it comes to tech, and it's all thanks to the composition of the city. So Ottawa has the highest tech concentration on all of Canada and second highest in North America, which means we have the highest concentration of companies and tech professionals here. We have attracted a wealth of startups, scaling companies, and multinationals that are driving that innovation in several sectors, such as connected autonomous vehicles, AI, next generation networks, medical devices, and digital health. We are also home to 65 plus national research labs and institutes and over 130 embassies. So especially for those who are coming from a different country, a lot of the embassies are located here in Ottawa, which can definitely be a really good resource and have different support mechanisms in place for those individuals. And in terms of quality of life, we are amongst the top 3 cities in Canada for quality of life, according to the Mountain Sense survey in 2018. And based on cost of living, Ottawa is also the least expensive Canadian city, which was ranked by Mercer in 2019. To give you an example of some of the opportunities here, for a software engineer, the salary is 50% less expensive than in Silicon Valley, which is why a lot of companies are starting to leave the States and look for places in Canada. This is happening in several industries, even like film, for example. A lot of industries are coming to look at Canada due to the lower cost of production. So there's a very attractive opportunity for those that are looking to start a software company here in Canada to choose Ottawa, because it's a lot more affordable. They don't have to outsource. They can have a team here locally in Ottawa to employ those individuals. Slide. Perfect. So Invest Ottawa, we do support the larger entrepreneurship and tech ecosystem, but we do have a large focus on some of our 4 key sectors. So health technology is a large focus for us. We have 4 major hospitals here in the city, including the Ottawa Hospital, which is one of the largest teaching hospitals in Canada. And we have recently started some more programs to support these initiatives, working with these hospitals to have incubators, innovation centers. We have a health tech accelerator group for startups that are looking to get their health tech companies off the ground, and a health tech peer group so that entrepreneurs can lean in on each other and learn from each other best practices to help further facilitate their growth. And here are a couple companies that are in the health tech industry. Spartan Bioscience, you may have heard of in the news. They have been working with Health Canada on rapid COVID testing. So a lot of companies during this pandemic have switched gears and have refocused their technology to help the fight for during the pandemic to fight the COVID-19. Turnstone of Abbott and Health and Years, and there's a lot of great accelerators as well, such as Atonics, for example. And then we have a huge software sector. So QNX has an office here. Shopify is our homegrown unicorn, which has really grown exceptionally across Canada and globally. And it was started right here in Ottawa, which we're very proud about. IBM Watson and Ford as well. And then for communications technology, this is another very large sector here. Ottawa is responsible for 90% of Canada's industrial telecommunications R&D. So that is anchored by the top optical networking firms such as ADVA Optical Networking, Nokia, Ciena, Cisco, Fujitsu, and Infinera, to name a few. And Ottawa is a world-class hub of innovative trailblazers in this industry. And then lastly, we focus on defense and security. So this is a large focus, especially partnering with government. Invest Ottawa is lucky being in the heart of Canada's capital. We partner with all levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal. And defense and security is a large focus of ours, working with DoD, for example, working with autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, all in this space. So these are, and some of the companies here are General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Thales, and Leonardo. Bye. Perfect. And going back to innovation, we have many companies that are working with emerging technologies here in the city. So if you're trying to, pivot your career, or you're wondering if you trying to specialize in an area of tech, these are some great areas to focus on where there's plenty of emerging opportunities. A lot of tech companies are starting to focus on these areas, and this is where we're seeing a lot more demand in terms of jobs. For autonomous vehicles, so far in Ottawa, we have 70 plus companies and organizations directly contributing to expertise in autonomous vehicle development. And what's really great is here in Ottawa, we have autonomous vehicle test tracks, both public and private. And it's the first of their kind in Canada. And that is attracting global attention because here in Canada, you can actually test autonomous vehicles in all 4 seasons. So in some other countries, you don't get that, and you need to be able to test autonomous vehicles in winter with slippery road conditions. So having those public and private test tracks here is really, really key and has attracted international attention to the city. Companies like QNX, the Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Center and Ford's Research and Engineering Center, which have established Ottawa as a world-class hub for autonomous vehicles. And we're the first municipality in Canada to connect an autonomous vehicle to live city street infrastructure. Even our mayor tested out that track when it first opened up as he was being touted along the streets of Ottawa in our autonomous vehicle. Also, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data analytics, the Internet of Things, persistent agriculture, and next generation networks. So these are all great areas of focus if you're looking to pursue your master's or anything else. Keep an eye on these technologies as they continue to grow. They're very in demand here in the city. Right. Perfect. And to talk a little bit about the growth within Ottawa, if you're an entrepreneur looking to get your company started or you're looking to join an organization here, what's really promising about Ottawa is in that the last 5 years, the Ottawa technology companies have raised more money in the public markets than any other Canadian city. So there's a picture of Shopify in the background, as I had previously mentioned. So we've got Intelligence Software, for example, Kinaxis, Accru, Mitel Networks. These are all companies that have raised millions of dollars on the public market. And so there's a lot, it just goes to show the growth of these these companies and the success that they're seeing in the area. Definitely, I think a struggle for a lot of companies in Canada is the access to funds and investments. And here at Invest Ottawa, we really do our best to attract that funding to the city, to hold pitch events, get angel investors involved, and introduce them to small and large companies across the city to help foster that growth. And going back to innovation, which is our favorite word, we have a very large R&D and innovation in Ottawa. So Ottawa is home to 65 government labs, including the David Florida Labs, the NRC Communications Research Branch, the CRC, and the Canadian Photonics Fabrication Center. So throughout, we've got our fantastic post-secondary institutions, which really help foster that R&D, with Carleton, Algonquin, La Cité, and New Ottawa being some major ones. We have those centers of excellence, research institutions. We have a lot of industry experts that lead into that, and business support mechanisms such as Invest Ottawa to help firms who are looking to do R&D. There's more than 130 leading scientists, clinicians, engineers, and ethicists from universities and hospitals across Canada that work in partnership with government, industry, and NGOs to move the most promising research projects toward clinical trials in the health sector. And with the CN support, research and training of more than 18,000 qualified personnel has propelled Canada's global leadership in many areas, including stem cell research, drug discovery, clinical trials, stem cell banking, ethical, legal, and social issues as well. Next slide. And to continue the conversation around R&D, Ottawa has received the highest percentage of federal R&D expenditures in science and technology. The Economist placed Canada in second in the world in quantum computing patents, many coming from the Ottawa-based National Research Council. Really, really interesting things happening in the city. And in terms of venture capital markets, as you can see on the slide, Ottawa is in the top 5, just below Waterloo. Companies such as Ascend Compliance, FullScript, U.I.TV, and Mobile K-Link have contributed to this. So we're very much a very competitive city in the venture capital department. And moving on to talent. So this is really where I focus a lot of my time on, is helping those within Ottawa find opportunities and help attract further talent to the Ottawa area. So go to the next slide. Perfect. So the reason Ottawa is such a good tech hub is we have the highest tech concentration in all of Canada and second and highest in North America, with the sector representing 9.9% of our workforce, just behind San Francisco's data. Next slide. And it's really attractive due to its competitive business costs. So if you go to the next slide. Ottawa boasts the highest median employment income per family and has seen its jobless rate sink nearly 2 percentage points below the 21 city average, while home prices remain affordable. And although every city across Canada was hit due to the pandemic, Ottawa remained very stable, and even a lot of those who did lose their jobs initially have regained employment, which is really, really promising. Next slide. So we already talked about how affordable it is to have software companies here, and the average software engineer salary in Ottawa is about $57,000. So very competitive based on, if you look at Toronto, which is just slightly higher, and we're ahead of Calgary as well. Next slide. And so when you're looking to move to Ottawa, it's not just about the employment. So, it's all about the cost of living as well, and the other factors when you're choosing a city. So Ottawa has the lowest average home prices compared with Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, which is largely where most people will start looking for employment. But that we've seen a lot of people even move from Toronto to Ottawa, especially now in a remote world where they can work for companies in Toronto. They're looking to go to places like London and Ottawa with a lower cost of living and housing, so that they can find more balance in their life. Next slide. And Ottawa is also a great place to live, which is what I really like about it. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that the cost of living is very low. Mercer showed that the cost of living in major Canadian cities is significantly cheaper than our American counterparts, and ranked from least expensive to most expensive. Ottawa is the least expensive Canadian city that was ranked. And if on the next slide, you'll see we're also the top 10 best places to live in Canada. This was in 2018, and this is based on economic, mobility, weather, health and safety, and community factors. And the prosperity of the Ottawa region is reflected in a number of metrics, including average household income at $114,000 and negligible crime rates. Next slide. And it's also what we call an outdoor playground. Maybe some of you have heard that Ottawa has the largest skating rink in the world. In winter, we freeze the canal, which goes throughout Ottawa and turns it into a skating rink. There are many great parks. Parliament is a very beautiful spot, and there's lots of greenery around. So it's very accessible by bike. There's a lot of bike paths in the city and throughout near the water. So really there's several beaches. You can go camping. We're close to a couple ski hills. We're very close to Gatineau Park, so lots of nature if you like hiking, camping, and really no matter what you want. If you're outdoorsy, if you prefer the city life, Ottawa has that. And if you go to the next slide, if the outdoors isn't as much your thing, being in Ottawa, there is a large, vibrant community. We have 14 national museums, including the Museum of History. We have the National Art Gallery here. We have over 180 annual festivals, including Blues Fest, Jazz Festival, Folk Fest, several fairs and special events. We do fireworks for Canada Day, which Ottawa is really the best place to spend Canada Day, a huge restaurant scene, nightlife, and a lot more. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and I've got my contact details up here. If you want to learn more about the job opportunities and different support, we can connect you to different agencies to help support your move here to Ottawa.
Thank you so much, Brianna. That was really useful. I just want to remind our participants, if you have any questions, please type them in the questions window. We are going to start the Q&A session now. So there's a lot of interesting questions coming up, and there are two important ones, and you both have managed to even tempt me to consider moving to one of the two lovely cities today. So people want to know, how is the weather in your respective cities?
Well, I'll let Brianna go first because you can see she's wearing a sweater, so it must be getting cold in Ottawa already.
Actually, we're having a very lovely September, very sunny. But like I said, we have experienced all 4 seasons fully here, which I personally love because you really get that full Canadian experience. It doesn't get, Ottawa's definitely not the coldest place in Ottawa, although you do have to make sure to buy a really good winter jacket. But we have very hot, beautiful summers, mild fall, and again, really beautiful come the fall season with the changing of the leaves and everything, and really lovely spring as well. So as long as you bundle up, most Canadians like to spend most of their winter outside, skiing, skating, snowshoeing, so very manageable, but it might be a little bit of a shock for people who come from warmer climates.
Right. So just to say, as I mentioned, where London is located, between one of the most southerly cities in Canada, it's with the moderating effect of 2 Great Lakes. We also have 4 seasons, but it's not nearly as cold as Ottawa in the winter time period. Although we do get snow, and we actually have a ski hill here in London as well. So you get to enjoy all 4 seasons. By the way, one of the most magnificent views is being on Lake Huron, which is a 40-minute drive, and the sunset you get there is just absolutely spectacular. One of the world's most photographed sunsets.
Perfect, thank you. Another important factor for usually new immigrants is public transport. Would you both be able to comment on that? How is the public transport organized in your cities?
Well, actually, Ottawa last year got the LRT, which is the light trail system. So it is, the first phase has been completed. So we have 2 train systems that go through most of downtown and connect to the east and west end. And then we also have the system going from downtown down south. So it has really improved the overall commuting situation in Ottawa. We also have fantastic transportation system with the buses as well. But having the light rail system has made it more fast, reliable, and they're going to be expanding it to other areas of Ottawa, such as Canada, which is the largest concentration of tech companies in the city. So that will be within the next 2 phases of the expansion.
So as I mentioned, our commute time our average commute time is 22 minutes. So we're a very well-connected city. We do have bus public transit, and we're just going through a bus rapid transit. We have a plan approved, and it's now being installed. It'll take another couple of years to actually increase the access to public transit.
Perfect, thank you. Another important question, and as you know, Canada Infinite program participants are still pre-arrival, they're yet to arrive in Canada. So they want to understand, if they arrive in either one of your cities, what is the kind of job search support that's available, and maybe how can they start preparing at a pre-arrival stage?
Great. Do you want to go first, Brianna, and then
Absolutely. So the talent program at Invest Ottawa is I would say the first step to getting that support. So what we do is we focus on helping individuals who are coming from outside of Ottawa find opportunities here. So my contact information is on the handout. At the end of my presentation, there was also links to Why Ottawa and workinottawa.ca, which are 2 fantastic sites. The Work in Ottawa site highlights the key opportunities that are being recruited for right now, and some top employers who are doing a lot of hiring through this growth phase. So what we can do is help, focus on guiding you to what type of companies you can look for. We then, will go through what you're looking for and help match you to the companies that we work with. So no matter what you're looking for, like I said, we work with small, scaling, and large firms, and then we can partner you with other agencies which also do similar work, such, for example, Intac is another great organization that we can hook you up with so that you can expand your search.
So Yeah, so London has a full range of helping services. We have the only access center for regulated employment outside Toronto. That means if you're coming with a finance background or a medical or a nursing background and you need to navigate what the Canadian rules are, what your qualifications are, etc., the Access Center for Regulated Employment can help you do that, or if you're in a skilled trade, for instance. So there's that kind of support. Then in terms of settlement support, any kind of bridge training or language training, maybe not for you, but maybe for your partner and family members. We have a full suite of services for that. I mentioned a few of the job boards that we have. And then we have some specific agencies dedicated to helping newcomers, like Will Employment Connections. We have a business-led coalition of companies called Employ that is actively working to bridge the gap between job seekers, internationally trained job seekers, and businesses. So a full range, just like Ottawa has all of the Employment Ontario and other funded services. What we have, though, is we have them coordinated so that there's a job developer network. There's a whole system of being able to, there's no wrong door with whichever agency you go to, but they then assess their skills to be able to help that particular newcomer based on their occupation of choice and their family situation. All of which you can find all of that through Why London on the LEDC website.
Perfect, thank you. There's a very specific question. I heard that bigger cities are culturally diverse and are easy to get adapted to in the initial few years of arriving. Does the same hold true of smaller cities too? This person is wondering if it is easier to sort of arrive in a bigger city and then think about moving to a smaller city. What would you like to comment on that?
Well, it really depends. You know, I think places like London and Ottawa are great because, you know, we're still big enough that we do have a diverse, you know, communities, and you still have that community support. But what's great about, for example, Ottawa is although it's a big city, it feels small. So once you get here and you start networking, once you start joining these organizations, you'll start to get to know people really easily. And in the business network or in the tech sector, you're constantly seeing the same faces, which is fantastic because it really helps build that sense of community, that support system. Whereas in larger cities, there tends to be more support and more communities, but it might not feel as tight-knit, and you might not be able to, you know, find yourself integrated as easily, which is why I think places that are a bit more medium-sized still offer that great diversity in those communities that you can tap into, but then the support offered tends to go a lot further to that inclusivity.
Yeah, London as well is a city of neighborhoods, and also we have, as I mentioned earlier, strong cultural groups for anybody will find similar others here. But often the challenge is if you go into a larger community and stay in your cultural or group, then you don't really get to necessarily understand how Canada works. And often then myths are prevalent within a particular cultural group. So, and you don't make those connections with others who are unlike you, as opposed to those that are like you. So I think the smaller communities provide actually a richer experience, because otherwise, why replicate exactly what you had back home? Here, that's, you know, immigrants are by nature entrepreneurial, right? Because it's an entrepreneurial act to make the decision to leave your community to come to Canada. And so I think that it can hold you back actually if you spend too much time in your own particular grouping.
That's very well said, Robert. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's important to sort of think beyond that comfort zone, right? Yeah. So yeah, because you will be working with multicultural people, like you'll be working from all kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds. So you need to be able to adapt to that. For sure.
Mm-hmm. That's for you to really thrive and enjoy the Canadian experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. So this might be specific to Brianna, but Robert, I would also like you to comment about like if there are job opportunities for Francophone people. So this question is if bilingualism affects the job prospects in Ottawa, and if, especially for government jobs, is it important to be bilingual?
Absolutely. So Ottawa is a bilingual city. Being the capital, we support both of Canada's official languages, French and English. And there are plenty of opportunities if you are bilingual. For example, the University of Ottawa offers most of their degrees either partially in French, so you can do half and half, which is what I did, or you could take your programs fully in French. And then, there's plenty of opportunities for those that do speak French. In government, it is definitely beneficial if you speak French, but not mandatory. It really depends on the position and the specific department that you're looking at. So it is, if you do speak French, or if you're looking to learn a new language, it is a good idea being in Ottawa. Less so on the private side of things. There are plenty of opportunities, even if you just speak English or if you speak other languages as well. We have many companies that work in Latin America, so they're always looking for individuals who speak Spanish. One of our largest game developers here in Ottawa, Snowden Studios, is looking for QAs who speak a range of languages outside of Spanish. So Mandarin, for example, is in demand for these gaming companies. So French is an asset, but not mandatory. You can absolutely succeed here in Ottawa without it.
Okay.
I mentioned there was a job fair yesterday. 3 of the companies were looking for bilingual talent. Out of the companies specifically mentioned that. So yes, as Brianna said, our companies, their marketplace is not necessarily London, it's around the world. So they're looking for the full range of languages. Just to let you know that Southwestern Ontario was originally settled by the French. So that we have French communities from Windsor. Remember that Detroit was Detroit. In other words, a major US city was actually settled by the French, right? So
Absolutely.
you will find all through our area French road names, French communities, and so from London to Windsor, there is a whole large French community. So whether your background is in finance, banks, our insurance companies are all looking for bilingual talent. So it is a great asset.
Yeah, and in Ottawa, the fact that we're right next to Quebec, so if you are French speaking, you can live on the Gatineau side and still work in Ottawa, and that way you're fully immersed into the French culture, and everything is offered and available to you in French. All services, all services as well.
Yeah, the same in London.
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, the same in London. You can go through kindergarten right through in French. We have College Boreal here, etc. We actually operate in Quebec from Western University, a French language training school called Trois Pistoles, which is a very well-regarded program for helping middle to senior managers upgrade their French skills to be able to advance within their companies.
Yeah, perfect. And just to clarify to our participants, because there are some questions on that, when we say bilingual in Canada, it usually does mean English and French. It doesn't mean other languages. One last question, because we are over time, and I want to get both of your responses on this. One question that we have, and which comes up with most new immigrants that we work with, is the challenge of employers expecting Canadian work experience. So how is this dealt with in your specific cities? Like how do employers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can be a challenge. There's this bias that Canadian experience is more relevant or necessary for a position. What we found, especially in the tech sectors, is that's not the case. If you're a developer working on mobile apps in one country versus in Canada, then it doesn't really matter where you got that experience. They're more looking for some of the things that they're really going to look for is what size of company did you work in, especially for the startup community. You know, if you've worked for a smaller company, that is more beneficial than working for a Canadian company. So if you do have an opportunity to network or, you know, take a program here, they're more looking to see, you know, do you have a network in Canada? Have you adjusted, you know, to the way of life? Those are some things which they might be thinking about. But, you know, if you don't have that Canadian experience, that won't be a barrier to your employment in every case. There will be still some employers that have that preference. For example, if you're in sales, but if you were living in a different country and still sold to the Canadian market, that is Canadian experience. So it's not necessarily working for a Canadian company, but the quality and the type of experience you have.
Yeah. I'll go a little step further than that. First of all, we've all been doing good work in terms of encouraging our employers to look at all talent, including international talent. But the one thing that I think that we could all do by helping newcomers do a better job of really sharing exactly what they were doing back home, what the environment was like. Remember, companies are looking for what the value add is that you're going to bring to them. So it's the ability to articulate what you were doing for a company, understand what your value of your role was, and also what tools and techniques you were using. Actually, a lot of newcomers have higher order skills than the companies they're going into. That also, a lot of newcomers have been working using North American technology or working for companies back home that are working for North American companies or with North American companies. They're not very good, like what I found, as articulating that experience to make
and Robert, to a large extent, that's what we work with our program participants to help them build that sort of tools to how they can communicate better in terms of their experience.
Yeah, so I think I know exactly. So that I'm just saying that's how your services are so valuable to actually help people really think that through. The other thing is for, I think, for a newcomer to think of themselves as that valued property.
Yes.
Not to go into it with the attitude of please hire me, or the attitude of this is what I can do for your company to help it grow and succeed.
Exactly.
And so it's a mindset about how you look for work, because in your own home country you might have been able to get employment based on the program you came from or whatever. It's a different job search approach here.
Yes, thank you so much. That was very, very informative session. Thank you both for participating. I know we ran over a few minutes, so thanks for your patience to all the participants as well. I hope the point of this webinar was to, you know, show our program participants that there are many more options for them, just to open up their minds to explore other job markets as well. And I'm pretty confident that this webinar delivered that, and we do have that kind of feedback. Someone said, thank you so much for the informative sessions, highly motivated to move to these cities as well. So that is a great takeaway for us from the webinar. So thank you, and good luck to both the cities, and I hope you can attract a lot more immigrants and like add value to the employers in your cities. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and see you in London.
Or in Ottawa.
Yes. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.